What up, yo? It's your boy AsisGalvin coming at you guys with the next episode. This episode is what, like 16? I think it's like episode 16. Coming at you guys again from the outside. Just trying to figure out a good place to get this lighting. There we go. All right. So, by the way, before I begin, let me express to you guys, like, y'all should be lucky I do these things, man. It's hard to do these sometimes just for the simple fact of my lack of time in a day. But I definitely want to get these out because it's one of those parts of the story where things are really kind of crucial. You know what I mean? Whoa. They're pretty important right here. So most of the stuff, this stuff that you're hearing about now in this part of the story is just really kind of deep. So we're going to go from that. If you hear any wind, which you shouldn't hear too much, I do apologize for that. But if you do hear some, then my bad, y'all. Let's go over here. So anyway, I walk out the little county jail thing, right? And like I said, the first thing I see is Mia's mom. And I'm like, oh no. Like, I don't know what to think. My heart dropped when I seen her because I've seen her, but I never really I seen her before, but she didn't see me. She see me. Let me explain that story real quick. No, let's not. Let's just go right to what happened. So anyway, I walk out, right? And I'm like, I walk out and I'm chilling and I see her and I'm just kind of stuck there. I'm like, oh damn. And she sees me and I'm just like, Like, funny thing is, I didn't have a ride. Or no. I did have a ride. I did. It was Janelle. Janelle was still with me when I came out, and her mom was there, and her mom was like, she wanted to talk to me, and I told Janelle straight up, I was like, yo, this is. I'm thinking to myself, like, damn, I have to deal with this. Like, I have to take this L real quick. So I was just like, yo, go on without me, yo. I didn't even know how I was gonna get back home. I was just like, you know what, just go. She's like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, because this may take a while. This is a long time coming. And after the kind of situation that we just had, her daughter ended up in a prison, not a prison, but like a little county jail, like lobby room, like not good stuff. So I woke up to her. And I don't remember exactly how that conversation started, but I do know for a fact that she said, first thing out of her mouth was, what the hell? What the hell are you thinking? Blah, 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 blah. Because she didn't really know what happened that night. Because the cops wouldn't really tell her, so she didn't really know what was going on. All she knew was that her daughter ended up there and I was driving. She snuck out. She never found out. She never knew that her daughter snuck out prior to this. So she was livid. So overall, what ended up happening is I started sitting down and we were talking. One thing was leading another. She's pretty much asking me, like, what it was. And then, honestly, I'm going to keep it 100 with y'all. It just made me mad emotional for some reason. Like, when I was talking to her, I guess all of the running around and the strenuous activity of always having to hide and always being all this other stuff. I've always wanted to have a relationship with her parents. Always. Like, I really did. Always did want to have a relationship with them. It's just couldn't. Because, they just looked down on me like, oh, don't date him, this and that. But that's how it was. So it was pretty sucky. Let me put this over here. I might be able to keep this still here. Hold on. Whoop. Yeah, so it was pretty bad, yo. But overall, I sat there and had a conversation with her, and to keep it 100 with y'all, it was pretty good conversation. I actually got teary-eyed during it. I was just like, she asked me something. I forget what she asked me, but it was just definitely something that made me upset. I was just telling her, like, I think I had tears in my eyes when I told her. I was just like, yo, I hate this. I was like, yo, I really can't stand this. I was like, I don't want to do these types of things. I really don't. I was like, I do not want to do these things. I want things to be right. I told her straight up, I was like, I would like to have a relationship with you guys. I would like to be the kind of person that you guys can, know, but I never got that opportunity. I'm like, I told her straight up, and I think that's what made me upset, because they used to judge me based on where I was from. Because I'm kind of from the hood in that area, so it's kind of like they were on some, oh, well, you're not good enough for our daughter type stuff. And that just really made me upset. So when I talked to her, I was just kind of like, damn, like, this is disgusting. Like, this is terrible. Like, I was getting tired of it. So after a long emotional conversation with her, we got up and she was asking me about, religion. And I was just kind of like, she was just pretty much trying to see where I was at and how willing I was to learn about, what they do and, things like that. Like, I knew they were witnesses, but I didn't know anything about it at the point. So we got into a long conversation about that, and what ended up happening from that conversation was she was like, all right, come with me. So I'm like, all right. I get in the car with her. We take a drive. We go to a parking lot. It was like a, what was it? What's the name of that place? Like a Big K or something like that. It was some weird place. We went to this parking lot, right? And she pulls out this this Bible and pretty much just starts going over a couple things. She asked me a few questions. The first question she ever asked me was, have you had any relatives that passed away or anything like that? And I was like, yeah, my grandma. And she's like, oh, and she started going into this whole thing. I'm not going to go into all that right now, but she went into this whole thing about that, where she was just talking to me about that. So essentially we had a nice little conversation, and what she told me was she wanted me to go to a Kingdom Hall. She was pretty much telling me that if you want us to really kind of take you in, or really try to if you want, she was going to give me a chance. I guess my emotions, the way I played that whole situation and the way I came off, she felt how I felt. She felt I wasn't a bad person. I really cared about her daughter. I just really wanted things to go work the right way. So what ended up happening is she wanted to give me a chance to do that, just to kind of see it. Now, she didn't run this by her husband at first. She told me that, she said, this is what we'll do. Next Sunday, you have a Kingdom Hall in your area? I was like, yeah. She's like, all right, you're going to go to your Kingdom Hall. I will come with you, and, you let me know what you think. So I started studying with her. The first time I went to the Kingdom Hall, she came with me. I was very comfortable. It was great, man. That was just an awesome experience, just to be able to be with Mia's mother and see, where some things that she had came from, and certain qualities that Mia had that her mother had. It was just because she looks like her mother. Her mother and Mia look very alike. And I was just kind of it was really cool, to talk to her mom. It felt great, man. Honestly, it really did. It was pretty cool. So pretty much started studying her, and what ended up happening was I ended up pretty much going to the Kingdom Hall quite a few bit. She went with me the first 2 weeks. After that, she stopped going. She was back in her place. I was pretty much studying in my place. And the last week that I seen her, so I was already doing this for a month. I talked to Mia. She told me she got smacked, and that was about it. She said something to her mom, some rebel stuff, and she got hit, and pretty much got in trouble for the situation. But it wasn't OD. And she told me that all that happened. I was like, damn. So we was not on no sneaking out anything after that. Toogie got pretty much mad court dates and mad issues going on with that. Zis ended up taking that long ass walk. Ashley got in trouble, but like I said, this is what Ashley does, so that wasn't even that big of a deal for her. But overall, man, everybody took a blow in that whole situation. Long story short, I'm still working at McDonald's. I'm like I said, that kid that did all that other stuff, he already left at this point. I heard. So at this point, I'm still there, and I'm kind of all right, well, this sucks. And I was actually, here's the thing. When Toogie got arrested for that, I had to kind of switch up my location on where I was staying. So I was staying with Toogie, and then I had to stay with some other friends because Toogie wasn't even, like I said, he didn't come back for a couple days. So I just ended up staying with another friend. Long story short, Mia's mom comes up with this grand idea to at least I thought it was cool at first. She was like, you know what I want you to do is I want you to apply for my husband's company to see if you can get a job working for him. Now, at first, I'm thinking, oh, this is awesome. This is opportunity of a lifetime. They were building $1 million house somewhere in northern New York. So they were building $1 million house. They were building it on a waterfront. It was crazy. Our dad had $1 million company, something like that. I don't know. He was set back then. We'll get into now later on, but he was set back then and everything was cool. So, she's like, oh, apply for the job. I'm like, okay. And she's like, yeah, because you don't want to work at McDonald's anymore. Just apply for us. We'll pay you $10 an hour. I'm like, all right. What am I gonna be doing? She's like, oh, you'll be a carpenter's apprentice. I'm like, all right, cool. Long story short, to skip ahead, I went through that whole job. I started going to that job. I started helping build their house. And what ended up happening was I would see Mia only during the times where she came to visit the house with her mom. And when we and her came across each other, when her parents were around, we had to not say nothing to each other. Shit was so awkward. So I'd see her, she'd see me. We look at each other, give a little body language of hey, and then after that, we're just sitting there kind of all right, I can't do anything. Essentially, they got me the job to try to control how things worked. I didn't realize that at first. So they gave me a phone, this little Boost phone, kind of this little Nextel, and they were like, yeah, this is your number, this will be your work number, blah, 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 blah. Just use this phone. The whole goal, what they wanted to do was control the way my life worked, because they know that my parents were, my mom and everybody was in Virginia and I was here. So they knew if they could control my fundage, they could control how I work. So their whole goal was to not let me, to take away some freedom to be able to control their daughter, because they knew that they couldn't unless they had control of me. That's what they did. They literally tried to control me with the money. So I started working for their company. I don't like the job at all. Like, I'm working in these houses. I'm driving like once we finished working on her house and it was good, I started having to drive to like all kinds of reckless ass places in New York that I had to find and get there to, and putting mad work like beats on my car because I was driving all over the place, just to essentially get to a point later on where her dad and her mom were trying to pin me with like, oh, were you calling? They used to check, because they paid for my phone. They did that so they could check when I was calling her, and they would check her phone too. So what I had to do was get a different phone for both of us, and then have her have like my phone, and then kind of like call her only on the bleep. Actually, no, I didn't get her a phone. I got another phone, so I had two, and I would bleep her like, bloop, and I would talk to her like that because I know they couldn't trace that. And I remember one time I was calling her, but I was calling her from a different number, and no, I called her on her phone number, and I called her and I was talking to her, and somebody tried to call my phone. I seen her dad try to call me. I didn't answer, and then I was like, whatever. And then her dad tried to call her. She didn't answer, and he calls me back when I got off the phone with her, like, were you talking to Mia? He doesn't call her that, but he's like, were you talking to her? I was like, what? I'm literally like, what did you say? Like, that's the first thing I was like, what did you say? He's like, were you talking to her? I'm like, what are you talking about? Let's go over this way. I don't want to, let's go over here. Anyway, I'm like, what are you talking about? Am I talking to her? I'm like, you called me a couple minutes ago, right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, so you called me to find out if I was talking to her for real? He's like, yeah. I'm like, nah, B. I'm like, chill. I'm like, nah, not even. Long story short, what ends up happening is I go to work one day, and what ends up happening is somebody at work says that I smelled like weed. So somebody was saying that I was pretty much smoking weed, or I smelled like weed, something along those lines. And what they did was they were like, all right, well, we're going to have to let you go because somebody said that you smelled like weed. But essentially what it was is that they couldn't control my movements and what I was doing. They got to the point where they were like, all right, well, we really can't stop this guy from talking to her, so fuck him, get him out of here. Essentially, that's what they did. Because they thought that they would be able to control money. They were giving me all these like dreams of grandeur, like, hey, like, you stay with us, and then, one day you can, run this company and blah, 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 blah. Essentially, their goal was, all right, we'll give you this life where you could work for us, eventually be with our daughter, and marry her, and y'all can have a house and do all this other stuff if you choose to, let them control how it works. Now, y'all already know. Y'all know me. Y'all already know I'm not one to be controlled, and I didn't like that proposition because I always felt deep down inside like, yo, this is a bad idea because something bad's gonna happen later on, and I didn't want to do that. What if I got into what if that became my livelihood and I did that for the next 5 years and me and Mia didn't work out? And then I'm stuck there working for somebody, and I'm with her daughter. I'm gonna get screwed over, and I'm gonna get done off. So I was like, fuck no, hell no. So they tried to control me, they couldn't. They were on some, you can't talk to her ever at all until we say so. I was like, fuck that shit. Eventually they screwed me over, got me kicked out of that whole job thing, and that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to try to control me, and if I didn't get controlled, they would put me in a position where I'd have no money, and I'd be just on my own. At this point, like I said, Toogie was on some next level stuff, so he was dealing with a lot of stuff. I was staying with my father at this point, and he lived all the way up in in the mountains, enjoying so he was in the mountains, and living mad far away from my city. So I used to have to drive all the way up to the city and then drive all the way back, drive all the way to the city and drive all the way, and I had to pay rent as well. So what ended up happening when I lost my job there, when I stopped working for them, I was just like, yo, I don't even have money to pay rent. I don't have money to do much of anything right now. Plus, I'm getting screwed over. This shit sucks. I'm going to stay at my buddy's house. So I stayed at my friend's house just trying to recuperate and try to really figure out what I'm going to do next. And during that stay, I started getting pretty pissed off because at this point, I'm telling Mia, look, this is mad grimy, all the stuff that they're doing. I'm like, yo, what are we going to do? Are you going to step up and do something? Or are you going to let them do this? Or are you going to, what are you going to do? And we reiterated once again that when that time came where it would be, when she was 18, we get out of there. Now, we're only a year away from that at this point. I'm like, yo, all right, so I'll deal with this nonsense for now. But, yo, seriously, we really need to do something about this. This is crazy. I'm taking blow after blow after blow, trying to stay in this state for her. Time is going by, I'm wasting time on things I could be doing. My whole goal is to stay there and survive long enough so that when she's 18, we could do something. So next part of this arc is about a month after that job was lost, right? What ended up happening is I decided to go see Trish. Now, I'm not messing with her or anything like that. I just wanted to go see her. Matter of fact, she owed me money now that I think about it. She owed me $60. And Trish lived in Queens. This person behind me, isn't there? Yeah. So she owed me $50 and Trish lived in Queens. You see this lady back here? Hold on. Let me stop. Anyway, so Trish owed me about about 50 something dollars. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, well, I'm going to go get this money because I needed, what did I need in my car? It was something. I needed something, but the $60 would have been definitely a help for my particular situation because, like I said, because of them, I didn't have my job at McDonald's anymore because they were like, yeah, you don't need to work here. You could just quit. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So essentially, I go there to get the money, right? Real story, son. Misha, rather. I keep calling her Trish. Misha is Guyanese, right? And I'm not sure if you guys know anything about some of the stuff that, traditional. I'm not going to say traditional because I don't really know if it is, but her family were into something called opium. It's like kind of like a witchcraft. Now, y'all can think it's BS if y'all want, but I'm going to tell you a little story. I went to Trish's house, right? I drove down to Trish's house to get my $60. And when I did so, I was on some, all right, well, I'm going to drive down here and I'm going to get my money. So I drive all the way down to Queens. I get this really weird feeling on my way there. I'm like, because I almost got into like 2 accidents just driving down there alone. And I'm like, yo, like, this is crazy. So I go down there and I get, hold on, people's calling me. So I go down there and I get, this weird feeling because I almost get into 2 car accidents and I'm just like, I go all the way down there. I get to Trish's house. I get out. I look at the front door and I'm just like, Before I even get on the property, right? I go to move to get on the property, right? As soon as I go to get on the property, I stop at the at the property line. I'm looking at the front door and I'm like, yo, what is this? And I just feel this just terrible feeling. Like, I can't even explain it. It's just like, all right, well, I feel like there's something kind of demonic going on over here. Like, I'm looking at the damn ground. I'm looking all around. I see some bushes. I don't know what the hell is going on. I'm like, yo, what is this? And I asked her, I'm like, yo, did your parents do something? Did they do something like with this witchcraft nonsense on your property? No, they didn't do nothing like that. They do that. They don't do that with us. It's other people. I'm like, oh, well, all right, whatever. I walk on the property to get this really disgusting feeling. Now I know something's off. I walk to the front door. I get to the front door right before I step in. I'm just like, no. It's almost like, imagine like seeing like a barrier in front of a door, but you can't see it. Like, just imagine like something covering a house, but you know if you walk in it, it's a wrap. It's on you. And that's exactly how I felt. I wanted to leave. I actually backed up. I was like, yo, let's just go to the store or something like that so you can get me my money, because she didn't have it on her for some reason at that time. I was like, come on, let's go to the store so I can get this money because I don't have all day. She's like, no, come inside. I want you to meet my friend. There was some dude that she was talking to in there. I'm like, all right, whatever. Fine. I walk in that door. As soon as I walk in, I'm like, oh, man, this shit sucks. I get inside. I'm in there. I'm just in there mad uncomfortable. She's in there with this dude. This dude's laying on her bed with this damn laptop, and he's not talking. She's looking at me, talking to me about nothing. I'm not talking. I'm just sitting there like, just looking around like, man, I got to get the fuck out of here. So I get out of there. And I'm walking out. I'm like, yo, can we please go get this money? She's like, okay. We walk out, right? The other dude leaves. She gets in the car with me. I turn on the car. I drive literally halfway around the block, and I hear ping. I'm like, oh, what the hell was that? I'm like, what the hell was that? Half my car drops down. Like, literally, I heard this explosion of a pin sound. Like, it was like metal snapping and falling on top of each other. I heard that sound, then I heard go. It sounded like a Funkmaster Flex bomb drop. And then next thing I know, my heart starts jerking. Stops. Now half my car's leaning over like this. I'm just like, what the hell's going on? I'm stuck. I can't move. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? I try to drive forward. I hear my transmission go. Broke. Car cut off. I'm like, what the fuck? I look outside. It's leaking mad oil. What had happened was my lower ball joint snapped on my car. My suspension collapsed. It fell on top of the wheel. The transmission was still intact at this point, but when I tried to go forward, I snapped my transmission into fucking pieces, and everything just fucking broke, and the car was laying there shitty. I'm in Queens. My father lives he lives about 30-40 minute drive from my home city. I can take the train from Queens to my home city, but the problem is I can't get from my home city to my dad's house, and that's where I stay at this point. It's already 7 o'clock at night. My car's broken down in the middle of Queens. I have no money. So what happens? I'm like, yo, what the fuck? I call a tow truck. They come. They tell me it's about $1,000+ of damage. We have money to fix it right now. I'm like, hell no. They take the car. They tow it away. They tell me they're going to charge a tow on top of everything else. My car gets gone. Now I'm sitting here looking shitty. I got the doo-doo face on, like. So I'm sitting there like, oh no, son. Like, I don't have my car no more. And Trish gives me my $60, but I had to take the train home. By the way, when this happened, she seemed like she didn't even care. Like, she thought that shit was funny. I wanted to punch her in her goddamn face for that. But she was on some hee. But I'm like, yo, what the? She's like, here's your money, blah, blah, blah. We're going to do this and this. And I'm like, looking at her like, no, son, no way. So what ends up happening is I find out that I have to take the train home. I take the train all the way home. I get all the way to Peekskill. I have $40 to my name. I'm calling everybody. My phone dies. I have no charger. My charger was in the car. Now I have no way to get in contact with people. It's 9 o'clock, 9 or 10 o'clock actually. I'm walking around. I'm like, yo, what am I gonna do, son? I'm keeping my composure. I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. I couldn't get anywhere, so I ended up like walking around one of my friend's house and see if I can get in contact with him. Couldn't. So I ended up having to sleep on his porch, my nigga. I slept on his porch. And I woke up in the morning, mad stiff and horrible feeling. I'm like, ugh. I'm just like on trooper mode. I'm like, oh, I gotta figure out how I'm gonna deal with this $1,000 car. I'm walking down the steps like, I walk down the steps and I get right to the bottom of the steps, right? And the first person I see is my father. He pulls up. Mind you, I haven't been home in maybe like a week and a half. And remember, I lost my job with me and his mom, so I haven't been home in a week and a half. I go all the way down the steps. First person I see is my dad. He pulls up. Where the fuck have you been the last couple of days? Last week? You owe rent. Blah, 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 blah. He's going off. I don't know what the fuck his problem was. He was just going ham. And I'm just looking at him like, he's like, yeah, where have you been? Blah, blah, blah. I'm looking at him like, And he's like, you know what? Fuck that. Give me your goddamn keys. You want to not pay rent? Give me your fucking keys. I'm like, nigga, take these fucking keys. Threw the keys in the car, kept it moving. At that point, the moment I threw those keys in my car, began the saga of a stretch of me being homeless. Homeless, son. Homeless, meaning no home. That means like these next coming videos are gonna be talking about that situation. And boy, oh boy, does that create a lot of shit. So I end up going to my friend's house and charging my phone. I call this, I'm telling him the situation. He's like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna meet you at the monument. We had this little monument we meet at. It's the same monument that I got pulled over with Mia at when we got chased by the cops. He meets me at the monument. And I'm like, yo, so this is the situation. He's like, all right, you know what? I'm riding with you. This is, like I said, this is my bro, son. He's like, I'm riding with you no matter what. He's like, yo, if you're out here like this, we out here like this. I was like, you sure? He's like, for real. I was like, all right. So he's like, yo, we got to find a home. Essentially, he's like, literally, we got to find a home. So we went on our mission. Next video we come back, we're going to be talking about that whole stretch of, yo, it's crazy, son. No home. So I'm gonna get into that. We're gonna be talking about that. So right now it's me and Zis. We're pretty much on our own, and we just about to make this stuff happen. So when I get back, we're gonna go over that situation. It's episode 16. Guys, stay tuned for the next one because I said a lot of things happen in this next stretch that changes everything later on. Things with me and Mia, things with other people, things with me and Zis. It gets pretty crazy. This is when I actually kind of find out who's riding with me and who's not. I learn a valuable lesson here that hopefully you guys can learn something from when we get into it. It's your boy AsisGalvin, and I'm out. 1.